Hi everyone. Firstly, I'm sorry I couldn't finish the Bateson's double bind on time. I need additional time for it. Bateson's thesis is quite challenging for me. Or shall I say, Bateson's research paper or article to avoid confusion or mistake when we read that paper. When I was preparing for sharing about Bateson's article, I thought about telling the difference between double standard and double bind. Then I had a thought, hey, why don't I just make a separate video for it? So we can distinguish the difference too, because both of them put them in a condition that you are wrong, and you cannot blame the person you are talking with, right? By the way, what I showed you in the last shot is actually the note given by Bateson and friends to their article toward a theory of schizophrenia. The note is meant as a clarification because of reactions to the article, and I linked both of them, the article and the note, in the description box. So if you want to read it, you can read it, both of them. So are double bind and double standard the same? Before we answer that, we need to refresh what is double bind. If you are new to this channel, let me explain to you what is double bind. If you're an audience of this channel already, perhaps you have seen my video on double bind before in Indonesian, especially if you are an Indonesian. But just take this as a refreshment, okay? And maybe you can help to explain others who are first-time listeners to this topic. About double bind, we can explain it by example given by Bateson himself in the article. He gives an example of a Zen master and his pupil. When he put a stick over his pupil's head and fiercely said, "If you say this stick is real, I will strike you with it. If you say this stick is not real, I will strike you with it. If you don't say anything, I will strike you with it." So you see, but in Bateson's article, Bateson wrote that the Zen people took the stick and destroyed it, while people with schizophrenia, they are trapped in a situation like that. It's very hard to get a way out for a person in a schizophrenia, or let's say in a double bind condition. And Bateson told in the paper that the necessary ingredients of double bind are 6 things. So watch this carefully, because this makes the difference between double standard and double bind. First, 2 or more persons. One is referred as the victim, and the others can be more than one, because Bateson said in his article, the cause of schizophrenia, or let's say double bind, can be from more than one person. Example, from the mother, but it can also come from the siblings or others too. The second thing is repeated experience. Bateson assumes that the double bind occurs repeatedly in a victim's life. Third, a primary negative injunction. And if you remember the last video, this is the part we know as "don't do this," or "if you don't do this, I will punish you." So either way, you can be punished. In this paper, Bateson selects a context of learning based on avoidance of punishment, rather than a context of reward seeking. So it's just about avoiding getting punished. That's the context that Bateson chose in this article. The fourth thing, a secondary injunction conflicting with the first. And this is commonly communicated non-verbally. And second thing about this secondary injunction, the secondary injunction may impinge, overlap upon any element of the primary prohibition. The primary prohibition is the sentence or the comment or the question in the first sentence. So the first word, the first injunction is the word spoken, and the second is like the tone or intonation, how it is spoken, the non-verbal message. It is the secondary injunction because it is commonly spoken non-verbally. The fifth, a tertiary negative injunction. So if you remember that example about the Zen master and his pupil, if the student doesn't respond, the master will beat him, correct? That is preventing the escape. And this tertiary negative injunction is the one that prevents the victim of escaping. So let's say, for example, about giving food to a baby under 6 months old, or the age when the baby can only consume mother's milk. The mother of this baby, let's refer her as A, visits her mother, which we will refer as B. B demands A to give fruits to her baby, so her baby will be used to eat hot foods. A refuses because A say that it is dangerous for baby on that age to consume other but mother's milk. Then B said, is that the way you honor your parent? By debating your mother? With a tender tone. Or, so that's a good daughter, isn't it? Arguing against her mother when her mother gives an advice, isn't it? With a quite rising tone. Clearly, the mother demands for answer. You can pick one. You more suitable. Both are the same. And in this example, the primary negative injunction is the verbal questions. And the secondary injunction is the tone of the questions. So example like saying, so that's a good daughter with quite rising tone, which can imply the mother is angry. The tertiary is when the mother demands her daughter to answer. So no way for the daughter to ignore it. And the sixth element, the sixth ingredient is when the complete set of ingredients is no longer necessary. I mean, the 5 points before is no longer necessary. When the victim has learned to perceive his universe and double-blind pattern, it means the victim's view has been seriously affected by the double blinds. So for example, even when someone offers you for a meal, you will perceive it in a double blind sense. So you will be afraid of consequences, whether you take the meal, you don't take the meal, or you just ignore the invitation or the demand. And by the way, double blind is not the same as dilemma. Double blind is not just a dilemma, like in a dilemmatic argument. But in double blind, you will face consequences. Either way you choose all the sides, you will get consequences, which will bring you negative things. I think Stephen He made an example of double bind in Family, which is most likely real, close, and relatable to you, even though it is meant as a parody, as a joke. Stephen He is a comedian. I'll put it in the top right of this video and in the description box. Now let's go to double standard. Double standard is judging, or let's say measuring, two situations or two things that must be measured by the same standard with different standards. An example I can give is when a parent kicks a glass of water and they said, why do you put this glass here? You're wrong. When you kick the glass in the same position, and the parent is in your position on the first one, your parent said, how come you don't see when you walk? So you're wrong of kicking that glass of water. But it is not double bind. It is just double standard because the situation doesn't put you in a dilemmatic, or can I say trilemmatic situation like in double bind before. It means that in the example I just gave, when you kick the glass of water, you're wrong because you kicked it, you are not careful. And when your parent kicked it in the exact same position, he is not guilty, and he put the guilt on you for being careless to put that glass in that position, the exact same position. But if we ask ourselves, isn't it the same careless when he put the glass on that position too? And another example, which maybe you Indonesians can relate with me. When you criticize a certain group, they say, you're blaspheming, you spread hatred against us. But when they criticize our view, then those people say, oh, we're just expressing our opinions, we're fighting for our rights. Actually, I think not just Indonesians, but people in the West, everywhere. You know what? I also give examples about double standards in a couple of contexts. I'll put the link in the description box down below. So that's it for this video, guys. The conclusion is double standard is measuring two things that is supposedly measured by the same standard with different standards, but it doesn't make you have any special consequences. It is just making you both sides wrong. But in a double bind situation, either you say yes, you say no, or you ignore it, you are wrong and you will get serious consequences. Condemned for doing what is demanded, condemned for not doing what is demanded, and condemned for escaping or ignoring the topic. That is double bind. And thank you for watching this video, guys. If you have any questions, or you need any clarification or explanation, please do comment down below. I'd love to discuss with you guys. And let us keep on learning so that we don't go backwards, but instead we go forward. The Lord bless us all. Amen.